Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. I hope you're all well who's watching. I'm joined by two show regulars, Francis and Ross. How you both doing?
Good,
Champion,
mate.
Stephen. Champion.
I mean, it's been a fantastic week as a Celtic supporter. Over here, the weather especially has been up and down. Snow, a bit of hail came in today. Some people say it was -6 out there. If you catch on to the joke, you're good. But look, I think it's no better place for us to start back again where this match that we all loved and on Sunday went to Ibrox in our home turf, 700 our travelling support, came away with a 2-1 victory. Absolutely fantastic, wasn't it?
It was a perfect away performance for me, and it was shades the one you'll probably remember, the one where Johnny Hayes scored late on to make it 2-0. I thought, other than the first 5 minutes, it was very similar to that game, and that we got our noses in front. And when we got our noses in front, we asked Rangers to come and play and try and break us down, and we showed another side to Celtic under Ange Postecoglou. We can play going forward, we all know that, but that defensive performance in the second half was controlled, measured. Carter Vickers was similar to what Julian was like in that game I'm talking about. You could say, although he was another side, you could probably say Greg Taylor had a similar performance to maybe like El Hamid that day. I just thought the defence were so accomplished. Just everybody knew their jobs, and I mean the second half. Okay, Sakala, we'll probably touch on it in more detail. Sakala has that shot, and it's an unbelievable save for Hart. But other than that, I never felt for a minute that Celtic were under like severe pressure and hanging on. I thought they were comfortable. Every ball that came into the box, either Carter Vickers won it or Starfelt won it, and we were immense. And we actually could have extended our lead on the break. A couple of chances for Abada. Probably should take the first one. The second one, I don't think he can do much more than that. It's just a great save from McGregor. But again, we're probably going to touch on all this stuff. I just can't speak highly enough of the performance, and I'll say it again, it was a perfect away performance at Ibrox.
Tremendous stuff, Ross. And I just want to say evening to Jed, Alistair, Martin. Before
Jed,
we even
keep
came
us
on air,
updated in the golf because I've got it twisted up.
before we even came on air, Michael McDonald and Alistair Jack were having a wee conversation about Jota in the comments. We're going to come to Jota and Carter Vickers and that permanent kind of transfer hold the debate soon in the podcast. But come to yourself, Francis. The match, that it was just fantastic. We're 6 points clear now. Many people before Christmas thought we wouldn't get to this stage. It was always that phrase: if we're in touching distance, if we're 3 points behind, if we have a couple of games left, then there's a chance. But we've took our chances when they've came. Rangers have slipped up on occasions in the new year. We've took advantage of it. We won our first game at Parkhead. We won the second game at Ibrox. And Ange Postecoglou, to me, all the plaudits. I know the team, but the majority goes to that guy.
Oh, definitely. The job he's doing is just tremendous right now. And I think the game in February when we beat them at 3-0 at Parkhead, like I think for the psyche that was massive for the Celtic team and the fans. Obviously, they'd won a big game in the League Cup final, so that was obviously big for them. But I think, like Ross has said, that for a performance away from home was brilliant. So it's just got to add more confidence in the team and the fans just believe in everything, know that we're going somewhere. I mean, obviously the table and things like that tell you that. But yeah, it was such a good performance. I felt it looked like Rangers got off to a great start. Like they came out the traps, probably thought they would played kind of what we do and just try to start at 100 mile an hour, but they struggled to sustain it. I felt maybe they managed it for sort of maybe 15 minutes. It maybe spooked us a wee bit, but I know we scored obviously around 6-7 minutes. But I think kind of after that, like all Rangers still presses a bit. I think that goal, just McGregor and Rockets from that moment just absolutely killed the game for Rangers. I think that goal, how quick, wasn't an easy goal, but I think in the manner of the goal, how McGregor just took the ball and just ran. It was just taking the ball on the run and nobody was getting it off him. And I think that Rangers realised were like, they're actually serious. They're a proper team. And like Ross, I'm sure Ross mentioned it when Rangers scored was like, look, we just need to stay calm. We need to stay calm. There's plenty of time left, and I think you've seen that for the team. They believe in the way they need to play. Yeah, Rangers pressed us in the second half. I mean, they got plenty of crosses in, and like Ross said, the Sakala chance, that's of note. That's only saved Joe Hart had to do. And at the time, when you're watching it, I felt we were under the cost. But then, like you do in these games, when you win, you tend to watch them quite a few times. And obviously, when you're watching them after that, the emotion's kind of taken out of it in that sense. And yeah, when you look at the game, when the emotion's taken away from it, the cross balls, like, not to try to take it away from defence, but they made them look fairly routine. They never really looked like they were struggling. They were never. There was a couple of sort of last ditch sort of clearances that were like maybe with an outstretched leg and things like that. But when you actually, like I say, watch it with taking the emotion out, it didn't look like we got to concede. Like watching that, I was like, oh, it's only a matter of time before Rangers score, just when you're in that moment and stuff. But yeah, it was a really, really good performance. And like, you'll hear some fans and stats saying they were all over us. We only had 39% possession, but look what we done with 39% possession. We were the ones that created the more chances. We McGregor had the bigger saves to make, so you can say things about stats, but when you look deeper into them, there's a lot more to see. But yeah, there's not much more that I can say. But Ross summed up perfectly. It was a great away performance, and just gets us marching on and puts us in a really, really good position now.
100% it does. And see as well. Sorry, Ross, but see as well. What I'm finding, you make a great point. Like, the way we defended them crosses, obviously at the time when you're watching the game, you're kind of shitting yourself almost, because you're thinking we're on the back foot, you're under pressure, and it's like, one mistake can get them back into the game. And that Tom Rogers goal, do you remember that goal he scored? I think it was the equaliser, one of the derbies, and Rogers was there. He was, I guess, to the fans, just whipped into the top corner. That's what he done.
Was that not the 3-2 game?
Yes, that was that game.
It was a 3-2 game, aye.
Yeah. And it was kind of reminiscent of him getting on the score sheet and McGregor kind of dragging the team in that sense in the previous derby there. But I do want to focus on something, Ross, that kind of not been overshadowed, but the defensive performance. I want to kind of drill into this, and Alistair Jack makes a great point. Taylor, the last two derbies, has been outstanding, and also, like Francis, Ross and Stephen, on the piss, the party has been amazing. I mean, can't really say much more than that, but commentate yourself, Ross. You did allude to the fact that the defensive side of things is something that has been criticised, and we're kind of weak and kind of susceptible to set pieces, which sometimes we are, let's be honest. But in that game in particular, as Francis said there as well, the cross balls are coming in. Vickers, Starfelt, even though Starfelt started shaky, they were getting rid of it. Greg Taylor was an absolute machine. Juranovic, shaky start, probably at fault for the first goal when Ramsey got in for Rangers, but the back four, apart from that tiny error in the first 5 minutes, were absolutely fantastic, weren't they?
They were, and like you've touched on there about the Rogic goal, that's what I was going to say. Like, I think that moment when McGregor just was a total captain, took the ball and ran with it, and then Rogic gets the goal, and Hatate and Jota are all over him, jumping, and Rogic just goes like that, just does that calm, and I'm like, that was my, other than the goals, was my favourite moment of the game, and it set the tone for the whole team after that, defence included, because Rogic and McGregor, probably other guys recognised that Celtic were struggling that first 5 minutes. That some of them couldn't even make a pass, and I'm talking about Jota here as well. They gave the ball away in crazy areas. Juranovic, we could all see it. The panic was setting in, and Rangers had started brilliant. But that moment, Rogic just went, look, okay, we've got ourselves back in the game here, but we've not done nothing yet. We need to sort ourselves out, because what we're doing now is know what we're all about. And the minute that goal went in, everybody just went, right, he'd back into it again. And the defence, for that moment on, were in total in sync almost the whole game. Obviously, Rangers, they had a chance with Ramsey, but it was offside. Again, it was a good save for Hart. But you could say, like, fine margins if he gets away with that. But then Hart does his job. But again, I go back to that second half. The defence was colossal. Carter Vickers was absolutely unbelievable. And like we've said it a million times before, but we need to sign that guy. Greg Taylor, obviously he went off injured, but he was outstanding again, and he's starting to now do it in big games for Celtic. And I'm not saying I was right about Greg Taylor, but I was right about. No, I'm only joking because I get why people don't like him. He's not the most gifted player, but defensively, when he's asked to do a job for Celtic, he does it. And that tackle, I can't mind who it was on. It was
like
the Rangers player had just.
I think it was like a solid 50-50. Just
but it was the Rangers player had just got into the box, and he had to time it perfect, and he times it inch perfect, comes away with the ball, makes a pass. I just can't speak highly enough of the guy, and I liked Greg Taylor when he was under Neil Lennon. I thought he brought a lot to a shit team last season, but this season under Ange, I think, like almost every other player, he's grown into his role. He's understanding the role that he's been asked to play now, as everybody is. And the whole back line, and then when Ralston comes on, Juranovic moves over because Taylor's injured. Ralston comes on, he does a job. He absolutely halves. I think it's Ryan Kent.
Wipes him out.
That, I know that's no football, but no matter what you say, you want to see that. You want to see that in a Celtic and Rangers derby. Just coming into the game, putting your mark on the guy and saying, "I'm here now. This is the guy who's on you."
Like Simunovic to Kenny Miller.
I was going to say Giakoumakis on.
Simunovic. Aye, similar to that. But I mean, I just the full defence worked in tandem that whole second half, and they barely gave Rangers a sniff. And okay, you can say Morelos wasn't playing, and it does take away from Rangers Morelos not playing. But Celtic have been without Kyogo for long periods of this season, and we've had a guy that's come in and stepped up to the plate, and it's not taken away from the team, and that's the difference between the two of them for me right now.
100% agree with you there. I think there's some great points. I mean, Taylor in the comments again here is kind of dividing opinion. Brown Muir comes in, horses for courses with Taylor. If you need a left back, he's solid. If you want a left wing back overlapping for 90 minutes, then Scales or Juranovic there is better.
But that's not what our fullbacks are being asked to do all the time. They're inside. They still overlap, but a lot of the time he's coming inside and he's playing that killer pass at times. And by the way, I don't disagree. There is probably, there will be better than Greg Taylor out there, but at the moment that's who we have, and he's doing a great job for Celtic, and he's not a liability. He doesn't take away from the team at all for me.
Yeah, 100%. And Gio Patrick comes in, kind of backing you up there. We're all saying Taylor stepped in, stole the ball in the edge of the box, pivotal role in our win in that game. I totally agree. And coming to yourself, Francis, I mean, again, people do criticise our defence. Someone made the point in the comments, it's way up the list. Sorry, I missed it, can't bring it up, but saying our defence is still the best record in the league and it still gets criticised. But sometimes I think that's kind of, we're playing so well and you're trying to pick wee pockets in certain areas of the game or certain times going, this could be better, that could be better, blah, blah, blah. But just from minute one to the last minute, especially that second half, onto the cross balls coming in, Cameron Carter-Vickers heading it out, Starfelt, Juranovic, Ralston even when he came on, to a man, they were just sensational.
Yes, it's madness that, like, not necessarily us, but how you still hear and from some sources that your defence isn't great and stuff, but it's almost like you say, Stephen, try to pick faults in it because we're playing well. Like, there's been comments recently that Man City are looking at Ange Postecoglou.
I think it's a case of just admiring him. I don't think they'll actually go for him.
I mean, that's what I was going to say. There's actually no direct quotes coming from anybody within Man City. And is it great? Would it be a great shock that they're admiring him? It comes for the City group. It's hardly breaking news, but there's all these wee stupid stories like that and how other teams are looking at Carter-Vickers. I mean, it's no great surprise that Celtic are playing well there now and these kind of stories are coming out. But yeah, to touch on the defence, it was Juranovic for the first 5-10 minutes. It was absolutely all over the place. Just looked like he'd never played football before and stuff. But after that, they were just like you have said, the defence was absolutely solid. Taylor, again, I've not been his biggest fan, but when you the last two big games, essentially, he's absolutely stepped up massively. And I said after the Parkhead game, I thought that was Greg Taylor's best game in a Celtic jersey. I had a man of the match on Sunday until he went off injured. And I think simply because he never played the full 90 minutes, I never gave him man of the match. I think if he was on for the 90, he would have been my man of the match. He's still got his critics, and the guy can only do what he can keep doing what he's doing, and will be in a good place if he keeps doing what he's doing. He's certainly taking on board what Ange's want him to do. The guy's trying his best in that, and he really can't do any much more right now. I think if you're not going to like the guy now, you're never going to like the guy. As I say, Stephen, we've always said we've not tried to pretend to be big Greg Taylor fans, but we're honest enough to go, but the guy's doing brilliant now. But exactly. I think the problem with some folk is they go in expecting Taylor, like they go in with a bad impression of Taylor and one bad.
They want him to be Tierney.
And it's what if you go. I'm of the mindset as well, Ross. If you go into a game thinking a guy's got to be bad, the first bad pass he does, first bad thing he does, you're on him for day one, and then but maybe flip that and put Juranovic. He does a bad thing, nobody's really on his case. But you expect it because you're of the mindset of Taylor getting maybe not being up to standard. Then the first mistake he does it could be somebody else's fault. Somebody's showed short and he's played the pass and they went in behind. It's maybe just not noticed that, but then that's it. You're on his case for their own. But the guy can't do any more for me. But and then to talk on the two centre halves, they were absolutely colossal. Just ate everything up at the weekend.
They were hungry.
Oh, they were brilliant. And it was Starfelt's type of game. I've always felt he likes proper old school defending, where he's not really doesn't need to hink about it, be on the ball. It's just clear his area, and he's absolutely brilliant at it.
Yeah, 100%. I think Kevin makes a great point here. Taylor is an example of a player who has bought into Ange, and I think Ange Postecoglou's greatly improved him. And just a quick note here: does anyone have a vehicle reversing near them? Because all I hear is beep beep.
That's what I can hear as well.
What it is the baby monitor. Do you want me to go and switch it off? Because also Lynn's upstairs. I forgot it was switched on.
Well, as long as somebody's watching the end.
But I thought they were so you get that vehicle reversing. Beep beep.
I was wondering myself, but I was like, I'm not going to say nothing.
I thought it was funny. But here,
I'll
I
just
think
be the consummate professional and get on with
it. To the ladder. I think as well, Ross, you look at this team, and Martin comes in there with a fantastic point. The belief Ange has installed in the team is absolutely sensational. I mean, back to front, and we'll touch on the attacking now, because I feel for him when he gets back from turning off his baby monitor. But you look at the likes of Rozic and McGregor, right? We'll touch on them two first. McGregor, for me, if that's a captain, our leader, he basically took that game by the scruff of the neck, dragged us into it. Rozic obviously finished the chance, but he was immense, wasn't he?
Aye, he's immense. Cal McGregor's immense every single game for Celtic. And even when we were bad last season, maybe it wasn't immense, but he was still doing his job to the best of his ability. But right now, this season, he's just grown into that. We've said it a million times before. He's grown into that captain's role, and it's been seamless for Scott Brown left. Okay, he brings different qualities and attributes to it. He's a far better footballer than Scott Brown ever was. Don't know if he can. Yeah. I was going to say I don't know if he can drag teams, but
he did.
I mean, he proved that he did. He did it on Sunday. He's took the ball and he's went, "We're struggling here. I'm going to take this for a run," and a run he took it for, and he gets into the box, and it's sheer determination that gets him to get that ball across, because he was struggling to get there and he was being harried and whatever, and he still gets a pass across to get into a dangerous area. And he talks in the park all the time, and I think I've said it before as well. I think if McGregor had took over this captain's role, he would have done it really well. But I think that the very fact that he's got Ange Postecoglou has got his back, and he's got Joe Hart on the other side, I think it's probably helped him immensely, and it's made the transition even more easy for McGregor, and even more seamless than we could ever imagine it would have been.
Yeah, 100%. I think Brian Muir makes a great point here. McGregor's Kadian's ball is a deep line midfielder. He sets the tempo. He definitely does,
100%.
Franny. And there was a point when he was making that run. Stop stealing my catchphrase. There was a point when he was making that run, and it looked like he was going to lose it. Calvin Bassey, I think, was coming into him. He just kind of shielded his body. He composed himself again. He put it into the box, and he did bring us back into the match. And then after the fought, just when he took the ball in, he was calm and composed, playing the nice, simple passes, keeping the ball moving. Women had the ball, obviously, because they had more possession. But for a leader this season, one trophy under his belt, possibly the second one going to be the league, and potentially a treble. I think that's just fantastic.
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
I'm saying potentially.
When you say it like that, Stephen, considering where we were only 8-9 months ago, it's absolutely phenomenal. Just you can only congratulate everybody, and Callum McGregor is key to that. I think I've been ignorant to McGregor in the sense that I can't expect these sort of performance from him, and probably didn't appreciate him enough. But like, I'm not trying to say I'm a massive Callum McGregor fan. I know he's a great player, but I think I take a lot of performances like Sunday for granted because I just know the level of player he is. Yep. And I think I'm not saying he certainly doesn't go unnoticed, but I don't think he gets the credit for certain quarters, possibly myself included, that he deserves. Just expect the type of things and something, don't credit him as much as I probably should. But I just think guys like Cam and Joe Hart, they've just been absolutely brilliant this season. Like Cam McGregor's interviews as well, he's really good. Like understands the game and he talks like hands. It's principles, this and like you just need to go back to last season. He actually came out and was like, I didn't understand the game plan. I didn't know what we might be doing and where we might be. And you're like, it's kind of worrying when one of your key players are coming out and saying that. It was just pretty much summed up last season's campaign. We're all sitting there as fans going, we don't know what's happening, and the players start admitting it. You're like, that was only a matter of time. But it's like his interviews now are kind of like buzzwords, but they're exactly how Ange's talking. So it's if your captain's not buying into the manager, he's got to struggle, and it's just another sign that everybody's buying into how Ange wants to play, and they're all on side with him and stuff. So I get like, I probably should talk more to Callum McGregor, but you can't. The guy's just absolutely amazing, and how I don't know if anybody has. Not that I'm trying to get rid of him, but you never seem to hear any teams coming looking for him.
Frally, please don't say it.
I know that's probably just thinks that Brendan Rodgers will just come back in the summer.
But see, to be fair, but that's the type of Callum McGregor. I don't think he's a player who looks for praise or needs it. He turns up week in, week out, does his job, does the talking on the pitch in the huddle with the players, and when he's wearing that mask, he's took another level. So it's insane. But another thing I want to touch upon, before we put this game to bed, Ross, and that's the two different systems we've seen in the game at Ibrox against Rangers. And someone made the point in the comments, again, I apologise, I can't scroll up and get it again, but plan B, when people say there's no plan B, I think we've seen it. When we sat back, we told them to come at us, we hit them on the counter, we were defensively solid, while also we produced the attacking football in the first half with our pressing. Mieta didn't stop, Jota didn't stop. But when we tailed off that, we still had another kind of two backs of forward, the two up top, kind of breaking the pace, trying to get forward. There was always a threat. What did you think when you seen that?
I just, as I said earlier on in the pod, it just showed another side to this team. I don't even think they changed the system too much. He's saying shut up.
Yes, Alistair, get him toned. Get him toned.
It's not really got a lot for a podcast, Alistair.
I don't even think that they changed like the system too much. They tweaked a couple of things, but I think they more just went, we're going to let them have some of the ball here. Okay, we've got our noses in front, and we'll hit them on the break, and pick our moments and take our opportunities. Okay, I get that we didn't take the couple of opportunities that we made, but I think again it was Celtic were in a position where we were in the lead in that game, and they've looked at it at half time. I mean, this is only my opinion, only what I'm thinking. I'm not saying this is what's went on in the dressing room. I'm privy to it, but for me, I think they've looked at it and went, right, okay, we've got our noses in front here. And in that first half, I thought we grew into the game, and we were the better team after we got the equaliser. But I think that in the second half, they've just said, "We'll let Rangers have the ball. We've got our noses in front. At the moment, we could go 6 points clear, but it is Ibrox. Keep it tight for a wee while, and if they do score, right, Ange never plays to draw, we know that. But if they do score, it's not the end of the world. We've still got a 3 point gap, and we still believe we can score a goal. So ask them the question to come to us and keep it tight. Don't open up, because we could get caught out if we open up. And I think they played a perfect second half, a second half that was perfect for the way the league table was sitting at that moment. I dare say if Celtic 2-1 up and it was level in points, Celtic would have came out and played the exact same way.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they didn't have to. They didn't have to force the issue. Rangers needed to force the issue, so just keep it tight. And it was perfect, and every one of them basically done the instructions to the letter.
To the letter. That can be your new catchphrase, Ross.
I think it's going to be, aye.
Conjecture to the letter. But here, Franny, what's noticeable as well, effectively, if you look at it, we've won the game in the first half in both ties, right? Even though it was 2-1. Made them chase the second half and puff their lungs out. Still didn't get no result. So if you do look at it that way, there is a slight change at the second half, whether it's fitness issues or they're still getting used to Ange's play, because we've heard all the stuff the next year is always going to be the greatest, blah, blah, blah. And Alistair comes in saying subs are great timing, boys. I think this all round, in terms of a system, it just worked to the letter, didn't
it? Definitely, Stephen. Like you say, it's
bored.
We obviously won, like you say, we won both games in the first half, technically, because there was no goals in the second half of both games. But I mean, from a Rangers point of view as well, like the Parkhead game, we blew them out the water, absolutely blew them out the water. And then the game at the weekend there, although Rangers fans will say they were the better team, I think neutrals might say a wee bit different. But even if they were and we were poor, if you're a Rangers fan, you're sitting going, they were poor at Ibrox and still walked away with a 2-1 win. So it doesn't matter whatever way you want to spin the narrative. Because still, if we were the better team, then we were the better team over the two games. Or if we weren't a great team on Sunday, we still came away with a 2-1 victory at a key moment of the season and stuff. So for Rangers' point of view, it's not great whatever way you want to look at it. But for Celtic, it was like we said, it was a perfect performance. Like I said, the subs. The subs were key. It's like Maeda and Giakoumakis, like you say, Jota never stopped running, but you could see it's not necessarily Jota's game to just do the pressing all the time. It's more like Maeda. I've never known somebody like it's not just aimless running. Like the guy is brilliant at the press. It's just absolutely amazing. Giakoumakis must have touched the ball about 15 times, but it was probably about 10 out of 10. It was just mentally, it worked so well for the team on Sunday. And then when the subs came on, Beaton just calmed it again in the middle part. Obviously, O'Reilly wasn't great. He got a knock, so hopefully it's not too bad. But then Abada came on, just kept that pace up front as well. When Jota maybe wasn't just really, not saying wasn't working, but it was maybe tiring. Like Bassey, I felt controlled Jota quite well on Sunday. But obviously, it kind of freed up space up in the left and stuff. So, and then when Abada came on, it just gave a different option, and like I say, it kept the pace up front, let us play on the counter and stuff. So, Alistair's bang on. The subs were key. And they have been the key in recent games, and it's just because we've got that depth now where the standard's not really dropping when you bring on the subs. It's kind of easier to do.
Yeah, I agree. And see as well, just to answer Kevin's point, is Maeda undroppable? I really think he is. I just think he is so key to what Postecoglou wants to do, and I just think, it's just that constant running. What was it? Record sprints he done there in that game? I think it was.
I ran nearly a marathon, 34K. Nearly a marathon. Nearly ran a marathon.
Ridiculous. He's nailed on for that left side of the front three for me, and I think I think he's nailed on for that. He's not going to play every game there, but for me, he's the best option out there now. And I think Jota works well on the right. I think you can go between him and Abada, even Forrest, and then you've got Giakoumakis and Kyogo through the middle, you can alternate. And obviously, Ange likes to change it about and keep it fresh and all that. So Jota can play out in the left, and it's still going to be good. But for me, if you're talking about your first choice out there, it's Maeda at the moment.
I'm the same. Like I said,
100%.
just the press. Like it's very deliberate. His press. I think he's really good at the press.
I think Alistair comes in there again, Gigi in their heads, played Ryan Jack like a fiddle.
Absolutely brilliant.
that he certainly did. And just to kind of end of talking about the Derby game, and this was a wee concept cut off my head, and I told you to get pens and paper or marker and paper. Just a very quick round. We're going to play a game of rate that player, right? We'll just
that explains the 11 bits of paper then.
We'll just do the first 11. We'll go really quick through it. The people who are in the comments, please get involved. I want to see what you all think of the performances. We will start with our number one, Joe Hart. Made a key save from Sakala, and also, even though it was offside, the Aaron Ramsey one where he came out and extended himself. He was absolutely fantastic. What we're going for?
9.
9 to 7. 9 to 7. Whoa!
Just simply because
I thought he had a tremendous save for Ramsey. Okay, it was offside.
Agree.
I thought he'd done an unbelievable save for Sakala. A couple of hairy moments in the first 5 minutes when we were struggling and trying to play it for the back. But I think he gets that would be an 8, but he gets the extra point for spotting the broken bottle.
Obviously, out the shorts in that, obviously, he spotted that. He put it there himself.
What's that all? I
know, eh?
Shawshank Redemption.
That's madness, but I think we covered that very extensively on the podcast with Ross McCall and John, and if you just want to catch up on that, please do. It was on Tuesday. But moving on to our Croatian number one right back, Juranovic, probably at fault for the first goal, but came back into the game, done his usual performance up and down the wing. Where are we at, lads?
7.
7 again.
7. I'm taking that's because he was kind of at fault for the first goal.
Aye. I mean, see, to be honest with you, you could make an argument for him that maybe McGregor could have been more inside, but I think he gets attracted to the ball, sucked in, and gets Kent spins him, and he gets done ridiculously. It was his fault.
Michael McDonald 10, big Euro. I think he just loves Euro. Daniel Mack 6. I think it's the general consensus, sir. There's a lot of 7s by Martin and Jed and Kevin. So we'll move on to a duo: Cameron Carter-Vickers and Starfelt. Brick walls, unbelievable. What's the double?
So we're
the two of them.
Name individually?
No, just do the two of them because they're a parent. What we going with?
So only needed 10 bits of paper then.
10 for
20.
10.
Aye.
Unbelievable.
Aye.
I can't
Martin K.
I didn't know that's what that made that up.
Martin K was in 10. Jed Thomas 9. Yeah, they were both fantastic. Greg Taylor.
I want to know why Jed took a point off them.
Greg Taylor, the man who divides opinion, even more so in this chat as well. In the live comment section, there's a few people saying he's still not good enough, but I thought he was absolutely fantastic in the last 2 Derby games. What are you thinking?
Franny's upside
6?
down.
Aye.
9.
Yeah, Martin agrees. Kevin agrees. Moving on quickly to moving on quickly to Colin McGregor, the linchpin, the maestro, the man in the mask. Unbelievable. Let's see it. 10.
9.
Oh, 9. You have to come on, Ross. You're being harsh when he scored, aren't you?
I think he could have maybe helped Juranovic a wee bit, but it was Juranovic's fault. It was early in the game, though.
Daniel Mack, Cal Mack 10.5, Paul Jed 10, Zed 10, Alistair 10. He was absolutely superb. Agree with everyone.
It's Paul Diet, by the way, no Paul Jet.
Oh. And then moving on to Rio Hatate. Probably not one of his greatest games in the Celtic shirt, but still effective. Still played the ball nice and simple. What we going with?
7.
6, 7. Yeah, I'd say the same.
Guy looks jaded, man. He
does. He looked a wee bit overawed and
man.
Yeah, Kevin agrees. 6. Alistair Jack 7. Moving on to the Australian magician, Mr. Tom Rodzik in his slippers, smoking the pipe for the first goal. Took it nice. What we going with?
What?
10.
10.
9. Yeah.
So
100%.
he decided what was happening in that game every minute.
Don't
Celtic,
disagree with that.
Rogic and Postecoglou, the Celtic team dictated
Look
what
at this.
was
Look at
going
this,
to
lads.
happen
Look
in
at
that
this.
full game.
Martin,
What is it?
Paul, Alistair. All
All
nines. Daniel.
Boys,
Yeah.
boys that came at the top a bit,
I'm
And
a
then-
fucking idiot.
eh?
And then Mieta, the pressing machine, the sprinting master. I'm giving all these players new nicknames. It's unbelievable.
Got to start calling you Russell Boyce.
Russell Boys. I think the Boise bus is on tonight, so anyone who wants to watch, get involved with that too. 9 o'clock, I think. What we go with? 100 miles an hour. Nine. And then finally the last two. We'll start with Big GG first. What we go with? 8.
8.
8. Yeah, 100%. I
Work
think
rate,
Martin's probably.
work rate was unbelievable.
Aye.
Martin's giving it
Sorry.
10, or that could be Mieta. You can crack me on that one. And then Alistair Jackson 11, probably from Mieta as well. And then finally for Jota, again, probably not the greatest game. I thought you were right, Franny. I think Calvin Bassey kind of
Aye,
controlled him well.
Mm.
Yep. What we going with?
Zibzane.
7 and 7.
No, that Zibzane's
100%.
17.
But look, that's kind of a nice way to kind of put that game to bed. We're 6 points clear, and we'll move on after rate that player. Who knows? We might come back for after this in Johnstone game if it comes on. There was plenty of interaction in the chat anyway. They seem to enjoy it, so
It was alright. I thought it
get
was
it in.
decent.
But we'll move on.
Can't believe I never thought about something like when you said 11 bits of paper to you.
I thought we were doing a big heart attack.
Or Pictionary, or whatever that is.
Neil Buchanan.
Oh god, here, but we'll move on, right? We'll come to you first, Ross. As people can see, we're sponsored. We have a new sponsor, RM
Oh.
Decor, transforming spaces by the man himself, Ross. Tell the guys what you do. Let's go. Give it a big pitch.
Well, RM Decor, it's paint and decorating. I do Ames Tatum, Coven, and we've not got Manscaped anymore. They sent us out some lovely goodies, so I've got the purdy brushes and the rollers and that in the post for the boys. They should be here. I'm assured they'll be here by Sunday morning.
Close of play.
Yeah, close the play. But as I say, I do all aspects of paint and decorating, Ames Tatum, Coven, wallpaper hanging, and no job too small. And as it says on the
Perfect.
hang, transforming spaces. And if you want me, and you'll need to try and get a hold of me 6 months in advance because I am one busy wee bee.
I can vouch for him as well. He's done a good job in some of the rooms in my house. I'll put pictures on the socials if they want.
Mhm.
And there's also, you can see his mobile number is on the advertisement, but we'll crack on here.
But
we'll move on to
it's
this.
purely for
It does
But,
these side
like,
jobs.
business purposes only. Any lady viewers, like, just yeah, I mean, I get it. I see what you see, but behave.
Jed Thomas, Ross, you still got your paint the gear on. That's a cracker.
Come
But
on.
look here.
I've not got the bib and brace on.
I'll tell you, see if I didn't know Jed, I'd be seeking out his address.
Right, we'll move on. Right, move swiftly on. Good to have you sponsoring us, Ross. Cracking favours for the lads.
Thanks for having me.
But look, I think it's fair to say, Franny, we are expecting some awards coming to Celtic Park, and one of the first ones was the League Cup trophy. The one that's more recent is Jay Mackis got Player of the Month, and it's fairly deserved. He's been an absolute machine, back-to-back hat-tricks. His work rate's improving. He's closing people down. And the fact that he said, again, that he referred to in his press conference saying he doesn't understand why people were hurt when he said that Celtic are the best team or will win the league. He believed that. That's kind of what I'm coming across with that as well. I think what he said, although it can come across cocky or arrogant in certain quarters, but he sincerely meant that he believes we're the best team. And there's nothing wrong to say that. The guy deserves it, doesn't he?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like I say, it's 2 hat-tricks in 1 month. It's got to be hard not to give the guy play of the month and stuff. But yeah, to touch on the comments, I loved it as well, Stephen. Just simply, it's not just a media-driven normal quote you'll get for the guy. Oh, we're in a good place. We're doing this. Blah blah blah. He said what he thinks, and I don't like, what is wrong with backing yourself up? If what's this?
Chance of Bobby Sands on the side of it. That's brilliant.
Sorry,
Franny. By the way, if he says it's rendered, it's something I can look at, but if it's rough cast, no danger, man.
But Big Giakoumakis, it's like his comments, it clearly riled Ryan Jack up that much that he had to reply like this. I thought Ross was reading the Manscaped fucking thing again.
Well played. I can accept when I've been done.
But and then obviously he absolutely just flies through Jack at the, like, I hope that Jack has seen that wee interview for Ryan Jack, because I think if you looked at it, he goes, I've rattled him. He's absolutely bragging. He does not believe a word of what he's saying. Like Ryan Jack right now, and he's just, I've got to show him come Sunday and stuff. Just went straight through him. Then he's came out and pretty much said the exact same comment about how he thinks Celtic are going to win the league. He thinks they're the best team, but just saying what's everybody's problem. I'm not allowed to say what I believe. I don't get why that should sound so silly. Like, why should it? If you're sitting 6 points at the top. Obviously, I think it was only 3 at the time when I mentioned it, but you're on the back of like winning 20 odd games at the time, or 20 odd games winning and 1 draw at the time or something. You've got to think you're obviously the best team in the league at that time. So there's nothing wrong with his comments, and you've got to have a wee bit of arrogance and stuff. And the fact is, he's backing it up, so you can't really say anything more about the guy. He said what he said. He's talked the talk and walked the walk, essentially. So the guy's brilliant, man. I love him.
I think as well, Franny, you make a good point. Anyone who has a problem with Giakoumakis for us doesn't need to look at him in that press conference. He is built like a fucking shithouse. Like, he was sitting there and he was just like, I was like, wow, that's the way he used to be. Always got the best on, 100%. But I mean, the guy, as Franny said, 2 hat-tricks in a month. He's been an absolute star for us since Kyogo's been out. I know he was a slow burner at the start. Lots of us gone on his case. He's proved the doubters wrong. No one can have a problem with no more. He simply came out again in his kind of award acceptance press conference that you have to do to get these awards, saying he believed that comment. He still believes it. Nothing wrong with that, is there?
Absolutely nothing wrong with it. At the time, I was a wee bit like, right, you didn't like to see that as professional respect and the rest of it. But, I mean, looking at it again a few times, I agree, like, there's nothing wrong with it. You're allowed to be confident. It wasn't arrogance. And let's be fair, Franny's touched on it. He's backing it up. And since the comment, he scored 2 hat-tricks in the league, back to back. How much more do you want me to back it up? And we're still unbeaten. I don't know, I can't remember if it was before or after the game at Parkhead against Rangers, when we thrashed them that he made the comment. But if it was before, we've beat them twice. If it was after, we've beat them once on their own patch, and we're 6 points clear. We're backing it up. And there's no, for me, there's no a lot wrong with it. And he's came out the day, or in fact, I think the interview might have been yesterday. He's come out in that interview and he's basically reiterated what he'd said, but probably with a bit more, what's the word?
Media training.
Maybe a bit more humility or that, but he's still basically, I'm not being an apologist. I still stand by what I said and I've backed it up. And then you've got Ange Postecoglou being asked about it in his presser, and he's basically said kind of something along the lines of, like, I don't tell my players what to say, but I'm happy with them to have confidence and stuff like that. And, like, if it's annoyed anybody and they need comments like that to get up against us, then they didn't know what we're about, really. So the both of them, Ange is never not going to back him. He's not done anything wrong. And whether Ange, I fully believe that Ange does believe that he was fair and right to say it. And again, we'll hopefully be able to say it at the end of the season. What's that?
We've all lost there, right, Ian? Don't worry about that.
Aye. But again, hopefully at the end of the season, he'll be vindicated even more than what he has been in recent weeks off the back of it. And I believe that he probably will be.
Yeah, 100%. I think Daniel Malcolmson here, that mob are deluded. It wasn't that long ago that Pedro said if he managed any team in Scotland, they would be the best. That kind of failed. He ended up in a bush, as far as I can remember. But I mean, you look at it, and as I said there at the start of that kind of wee side tangent about GMX, is we're expecting a few awards, a few more trophies to come to Celtic Park, Ross, and the league title's on the horizon, right? And I know we're going to talk about the potential Champions League kind of windfall from that and things, but I want to touch upon just briefly about this Dermot Desmond interview that was just dropped today, apparently recorded before. I think it was before the Rangers game, or it was something along them lines.
29th of March, it was done. I think
29th of March. It was released kind of conveniently after 2 great results. What are you thinking behind this? Because he said some interesting things, that the son's going to take over the kind of dynasty, and people are kind of raising about that. But then he kind of counters 2 negatives with a positive by kind of confirming the whole Rangers scenario, that they're a new club. Bit tongue in cheek, I believe, but not showing that in terms of advertisements and this whole old firm kind of crap. But touched upon last season as well, missing loads of points. But what do you think of this?
I'm not going to pretend that I'm the best guy to speak to about this. I watched the interview, and I think I watched it twice. I'm no a huge expert on the board side of things, off the park and all the rest of it. But I watched it, and I thought, at first I was like, okay, finally some transparency. It's a hell of a lot, like, too late for the transparency. It should have came last season. He's alluded to in it about kind of not changing manager halfway through a season or 3/4 away through a season, but they should have changed for Neil Lennon's sake, for the club's sake. That change came a lot sooner than it did. So I'm not buying into that. But I don't know. It's like it's sort of made out like as if it was part of the plan that Ange came in. I suppose I can believe him to an extent, in the sense that he's found out. I think he said he found out at like 12:30 or something. Mm-hmm. Aye, I agree with that. That. But he said he found out at like 12:30 that Eddie Howe wasn't going to be coming, and I believe that Ange probably was on the list of 5 if they did have a list of 5. Obviously, all their eggs were in the Eddie Howe basket, because I believe that they've had Eddie Howe's word that he's going to come, and he's backed out for whatever reason. And maybe Ange was second on the list, but it's like, I don't know who put that comment up, but it always rears his head.
McDonald.
I agree with that. Like, he does, like, he was nowhere to be seen last season when it wasn't going good, and he's reared his head again off the back of like what we're doing at the moment, and he thought this is a good time to come out now and try and appease the fans. And I get it. It makes sense for him personally, and for me, it's happened last season. We wanted the 10. We desperately wanted the 10. We probably wanted it too much. But Celtic have got a long history, and for me now, okay, the board failed then, but in the 20 however many years that he's been there, there's been more success than failings. And for me, we just put it in the history books. And Ange Postecoglou, Dominic Mackay came in, start of the season, we get all this, he's going to modernise the club and all the rest of it. And then that opportunity gets taken away from him. But I think to an extent, Ange is now making his mark on the club in his own way, and he's sort of modernising it to an extent. And I know Desmond sort of alluded to the fact that the manager, it's his signings and stuff. And I know previously with other managers, it hasn't been their signings all the time. With Rodgers, with like Shved and stuff like that. But then you look at under Postecoglou, and McCarthy was brought in. Now we know that that's not an Ange Postecoglou signing, but for me, I'm starting to believe that he is getting the final say on it. And the reason I say that is, admittedly, McCarthy wasn't a Postecoglou signing, but for me, I think he's been asked about it and thought, he's not got to be the guy for me, but I need bodies in here now. And he knows the club. He knows what Celtic are about, although he's not played for them, but he was a Celtic supporter. And I think he's went, just bring him in, because we need somebody to get us through this first 6 months of the season. Although, and I know he never featured a lot, but his experience as well would help in that dressing room off the park and stuff like that. So for me, you can say he wasn't a Postecoglou signing, and even like say the couple of boys, Shaw for Sheffield Wednesday, I think they were already sanctioned. They were coming in, and they're in, but they're not there now. They're out on loan. Postecoglou put them in, and when they come back, he'll probably give them another chance to see. And if they're not up to the mark, then they'll not play for Celtic. But for me, I think Postecoglou is now getting the final say on the signings. But
he has to. He has to.
Aye, he has to. He'll not be here
he's got
otherwise.
The board over a barrel, hasn't he?
Aye, and let's be honest, right? Everybody knows he's got a clear identity how he wants to play, and it's not going to work if the board start telling him who he's got to sign. And I think the board realise that. I think he's got more of a clear identity in how he wants to play than any Celtic manager I can remember in my time watching Celtic. And just, I can't say much more than that. I'm not an expert on the interview, but
100%.
There was good bits and bad bits in the interview, and I think he thought when he was saying that, when he asked Postecoglou, that was a bit of a fan thing when he was saying about, look, we didn't want you to come in and just use as a sort of stepping stone. We want you to be committed to Celtic. And I think he thought it was going to be this amazing line that Postecoglou said, I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more. And I just was like, hello, is that the ground? Could you open up and swallow me, please? It was just violence. But I'll give Franny the floor now, because I've said a lot.
I think as well, though, like in no way am I trying to treat this as the negative. It was just interesting, Francis, to hear from Dermot Desmond, because he's kind of a ghost around Celtic Park. He appears when he wants to sometimes, and that kind of saying, a way to a man's heart is through food, and Michael McDonald takes us to the extreme. If Desmond wants to impress, he should get some decent grub in the stadium. Get on that, Desmond, straight away. But you look at that interview, Franny, just briefly again, just like Ross did, kind of summarising it. He made some interesting points about like the likes of the transfers, and he kind of harped back to Gordon, Foster, and Elyounoussi, talking about that shit. Don't want to talk about that because that's 2 years ago now. You look at this, and what Ross said, I firmly believe the Postecoglou saying, look, I have the finger on the pulse. Bar McCarthy and Hart, I would say the majority have been his signings, apart from the two development guys we got in terms of Shaw and Urigidi. But what was your type of take from that interview that Desmond got?
I think a couple of guys in the comments are like, I've said in the past even that I don't want to hear, like, I'm probably going to revert back to type here and go back to Franny that contradicts himself about 7 times in the one statement. But
oh no way, you definitely don't do that.
Like, I normally don't, like, essentially I don't want to hear from anybody in the board, because generally if we're playing all right, that's when you sort of hear for the board for time. There's the first contradiction, really, isn't it? But like last season we hardly heard from them, and that was when you probably should have heard from them.
Yeah,
and this season it's easy.
Mother of God,
I know, it's easy to make that statement when we're being so successful. And a guy with like season ticket renewals are up. It's because we're playing well, you expect to see him and things like that. So it's one of the. It was damned if he did and damned if he didn't. Really, it was in a no-win situation, Stephen. Whether that statement came out or not, there was some interesting stuff in that, but a lot of it was all. It'll be well thought out. There was nothing that you sat back and went, "Oh my God, there's a bombshell." It was just kind of stuff you sort of expected to hear and that. So, as I say, I don't normally want to hear for the board, but it's one of the ones when you tend to hear from them when we're playing well, Stephen. So it was, and to touch on Postecoglou's signings, I think when you look at like the guys that you have touched on, I think we can all agree they weren't Postecoglou signing. Hart's obviously featured a lot and has deservedly so, but the other guys, I think when you look at the way Postecoglou wants to play, you can tell they were Postecoglou definitely sanctioned them. It was whether guys like Juranovic and that, he really was looking at them, but he obviously maybe got shown them and obviously went and done his own scouting and was like, this guy can work for me and things like that. But with him saying that he's got the final say, I think he needs the final say because everybody's so on Angie's side. So if the board starts sort of just not maybe giving him exactly what he wants, I'm not saying there'll be a fan revolt, but I think the board will find that they'll need to back out. Angie's kind of, like I said, he's got them over a barrel now. It's almost like Angie's jump and the board say how high really right now for me.
Yeah, 100%. And Brian Warrior came in there before I move on. He said that along the lines of it's up list, but I'll kind of paraphrase. He said it was no coincidence that when Desmond said he was getting involved in the transfer to sign Hart and McCarthy, and then a couple of weeks later, Mackay's out the building, kind of throwing his toys out the pram. I totally agree. Dermot Desmond, I'm not his biggest fan, but what is interesting, I think we can all agree here in kind of a general consensus that us three, he's choking. You all right, Ross? You all right?
I don't know what happened there.
But I kind of, in the general consensus, us three on this podcast aren't the political ones in terms of the boardroom. Be interesting to see what Anthony, John, and even James P, who done a fantastic article there in the Celtic blog about Dermot Desmond's interview, say, possibly in our end of season review, which we're all looking forward to. But we'll move on from that very quickly because I know you guys are appearing on another podcast quite shortly, and Johnny Talks, the live lock-in show. That should be interesting at 9:45 on Johnny Talks TV channel, YouTube channel. I'll put the links in the description and things like that. But we'll move on quickly. We know what this league title means, Franny. Champions League money. End of the day, it's the biggest prize, £40 million, possible entry into automatic into the Champions League, no qualifying round. So there's a big carrot there. We've heard recently that Benfica are going to offer Jota a wage increase to kind of entice him to stay. So this brings me on to a rather nicely to this point. If this Champions League windfall comes in, all being well, win the league, where would you improve? Who would you prioritise? Jota, Cameron Carter-Vickers, or even something that we haven't thought of?
I'd prioritise getting both of them in the door, and without starting the debate if it's one or the other. If it's one or the other right now, because of Maeda and because of how hard it is to get a centre half, I think you have to go for Carter-Vickers. I think it's time shown that for me, there's no debate. If it's one or the other, there's no debate for me right now. As good as Jota is, I think it's Carter-Vickers. But yeah, I think you've got to try. It goes without saying, try and get they two in. A left back. I'm trying to whisper that after how much I've been bigging up Taylor, but I'd go for left back. But I suppose you could argue that for any position because you could improve in every position at the end of the day. But I would go for a left back, potentially a centre half, but more on top of Carter-Vickers, depending on what happens with Julian. Maybe a keeper. I would try and maybe move on Scott Bain. And obviously Barcastle, I would imagine you would move on, and it's probably too early for the young English boy to expect him to be number 2. But
yeah,
try and just get him in the first team more, where you can get him more involved, maybe playing some League Cup games and things like that. But so maybe a goalkeeper, another number 2, but it's hard to obviously get a number 2, and that's why Scott Bain kind of works, I suppose, because he seems happy in that position. A left back, a centre half, depending on what happens with Julian, and maybe do you need another midfield? I actually don't think you do. But
do you think we're shite?
No, it's one of the ones you start looking for everything. Like the derby games, you just start looking for everything. I find difficult. It's like you want the world. At the end of the day,
it's like someone's handed you the Argos book and like, have that.
I'm just playing champ man right now.
I mean, I have to say as well in the comments, I'm loving the debate everyone's having with each other about the shareholding and things like that. It's great to see. Keep it up. I love all the comments when you talk to each other. As I said before, it's like a community. And to come to you, Ross, if we get CL, I don't see it Champions League money. I don't see it being a problem keeping both Jota and Cameron Carter-Vickers. But I think the major thing from all these Benfica fan forums, and if you believe them, we know it's all hearsay, but we have to go off hearsay sometimes, saying that reportedly Benfica are going to give him a wage increase. That's his boyhood club. You can see the attraction. We get this Champions League money. I'm in much in agreement with Franny. I would prioritise Cameron Carter-Vickers, and then possibly try and find a like for Jota, if it comes to that.
Aye. I mean, if we get the Champions League money, it's fair to say that the money's there to get they to. But the money isn't the issue, it's the players, whether they want to come. Celtic want them, that's evident. Why would they not? They're two of the mainstays and big players within the squad. But it's going to come down to the players. And for me, I agree with Franny, I agree with yourself. I think everybody at this point now knows or feels that probably Carter-Vickers is more important. What was that?
He's a joker. He's a wee joker.
Aye. I think everybody probably, I would say 99% of the Celtic support now feel that Carter-Vickers is more important, purely for the reasons that Franny's already outlined. If we can get both, it's amazing. But at the minute, I think it's probably looking like it'll be harder to get Jota, just purely because of the noises that are coming out of Benfica. But listen, time will tell. We'll deal with it in the summer. There's no way that Ange Celtic will be talking to the players about their futures right at this minute in time, because there's far too much at stake.
Yeah, 100%. And also, Kenny, you're 100% right here. Give us a thumbs up on the podcast, like and subscribe. We're well and truly on our way to 1,000 subscribers, and we're absolutely love the support from everyone who watches this week in, week out. It's fantastic. And we'll move on swiftly to the St Johnstone game. Come to yourself, Franny, first. I mean, Callum Davidson's still the manager there. I mean, he's been under pressure. They've been a bit indifferent. Still got some key players. Cup doubles winners last season. What are we thinking? I just think the confidence of Celtic at the minute, it's too big, too high. It could be an absolute thumping, in my opinion.
It could be, obviously, fingers crossed, because it's that old cliche thing that last week means nothing if you drop points this weekend. So, but the way we're playing, I can't say anything but a comfortable win. Being at home, like you say, St Johnstone aren't in a great place right now. And then just to, sometimes obviously after big results, it can be a wee bit flat, but it's Postecoglou just seems to have it in him to just keep it fresh enough that we just keep going. That I think every player just looks focused. They can see the finish line. For me, anyway, in my opinion, I think last week won the league for us, but it's just one of them. It's another big performance. The first game after it, another big performance, and it'll just kind of cement that for me. So I can't say anything but a positive result, Stephen.
And I get what you said. I mean, on the last podcast I was on, I said if we win this game against Rangers, win the league. But you do have to kind of, Ross, keep a lid on it, don't you? And not get too ahead of yourself, because there is twists and turns, and Celtic could drop form, they could hit form. It's all conjecture, as you would say, Ross. But coming to yourself about the St Johnstone game, I think Franny's spot on. When you see like Murray Davison still being their best player at 52, do you know what I mean? And Sean Rooney and all doesn't really get a game now. It's just a weird scenario going on there. But what are you thinking about the game?
Well, I think the last number of weeks, St Johnstone have picked up their form a wee bit, but they're coming to Parkhead, and there's no team in better form than Celtic right now. There's no team better, to quote Giacomakis. But I'm super confident going into that game, and even more confident going into the remaining games off the back of that performance at Ibrox. I just think the guys will be totally buoyed off of that. They'll be buzzing. According to Ange and his press of the day, they're all training well. The team's the healthiest it's been all season, barring James Forrest. Kyogo's back. That'll buoy them and all. 52 isn't old, Stephen.
How's it old, Jed? How's Cammy Smith doing?
But I fancy it strongly. I think, as Franny says, we can see the finish line in sight now, and we don't fucking stop. And we're not going to.
And then Granda's back in. Hi, Stevie. Hope we keep up the form for tomorrow. I'll be down to watch the game with you, Granda. Looking forward to it. Be a fantastic game. But see as well, like, just to kind of go to Jed here, I didn't say 52 years old. I said 52 years old.
It's old for a footballer.
Very old. But come to yourself quickly. quickly, Ross. Score, lineup prediction, fire through it.
Score 4-0. Lineup prediction: Hart, Ralston, Carter Vickers, fucking hell, Starfelt. Think you might see Scales coming in there, possibly. What's the script with Ivanovic? He's fit.
He's fit, of course.
Aye. And Taylor's fit, I think.
We don't know.
Yeah.
I've not heard otherwise.
I think you'll probably
He's
see Juranovic in the left, Ralston in the right. Midfield, I think, will be probably Beaton, McGregor, and got to stick my neck in the line and say Turnbull will come in. Thought he'd done well when he came on. Helped us see out the game. That's what I mean. Rogic, O'Reilly, now Turnbull. It's like,
and you're going 4-0.
Players everywhere.
You're going 4-0.
4-0. I've not even done my front three yet. Settled in.
All right.
Front three. I think Giacomakis will start. Maeda on the left, and I think Abada will come in on the right.
100%. And Danny Boy says, "Is this the quiz? No quiz tonight." Danny, the guys they're in demand. They're on the Johnny Talks lock-in show, probably 10:15 here, so we need to get cracking on. 3-0, Kevin says we'll move on. But coming to yourself, Franny, score lineup prediction, what we going with?
I'm with Kevin. I'm going to 3-0. My team's bang on like Ross's is, apart from one player. I think obviously, just simply, I'm saying back four just because I'm not sure where Taylor is with the injury, and then O'Reilly is same with his injury. So I'm also thinking Ross's midfield, Beaton, McGregor, and just Hatate get him a rest and Tumble. But the only difference I would have is I think he might rest up Maeda and keep Jota on the left with Abada on the right and Giacomakis through the middle. So that'd be the only change I'm making is Jota on the left instead of Maeda.
I'll go Hart, Juranovic, Starfelt, Carter Vickers, switch them around obviously. Taylor, I'll go Beaton to start. I'll go Calmac, I'll go O'Reilly if he's fit. And then I'll go Jota on the right-hand side. No, sorry, Abada on the right-hand side, Jota on the left, and Kyogo for the middle, and I'll go 3-0.
Giving him a start.
I'm starting him, because he said in his Twitter post, he's ready. I'm ready.
He did.
I'm ready.
To be fair.
Yous are ready. Let's do it. And that brings us to the end of the podcast here. Folks,
but by the way,
thanks.
Can I just say, before we finish, did you see Eddie Howe was quoted saying that he thinks Ange Postecoglou's done an unbelievable job? I read it earlier, and I was like, I just went full Will Smith, and I was like, get my manager's name out your fucking mouth.
I think in terms of ending the show, I think that's a fantastic way. I mean, he did say a slight transition, which again is absolute bollocks because it was a major transition for Ange Postecoglou to manage us through. At least he didn't push you out of it. Eddie who? Eddie why? Eddie when? But we'll never know. But to Ross and Franny, thanks for coming back on. You guys are appearing on the Johnny Talks Lock-In live show at 10:15. Tune into that, guys. And until we speak again, thanks for the comments, interaction. Stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.